The aim of Black Mental Matters is to tell experiences with honesty. Therefore, some discussions may trigger an adverse reaction. If a discussion is beginning to upset you, we advise that you please stop listening and talk to your support team.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back again. We're black again. It's Black Mental Matters. Your boy Vince the Voice, and of course, Coach Makeba Reed Johnson. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, Vince, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday to you.
Friday, and maybe any day of the week, any time of the day, but whenever it is, it's always important because Black Mental Matters. You know what I mean? And it's so good again to be back with everyone. We thank you so much for joining us, listening to this podcast where we're trying to, just really rip the curtain back around mental health in our community, in this world. Is so important. Coming out of Black mental health awareness month, and we move right into, what did you say this month? June is coming into.
Yeah, so I accidentally found out that June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So, and I think you and I were just kind of laughing about like where all these months coming from and who's creating all these months. So yeah, so June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're actually going to focus on Black men's mental health and why it's so important to talk about this right now.
Well, it's definitely important, Makeba. Everybody, let me tell you, Black men, we're disproportionately affected by mental health issues, depression, anxiety, much higher risk for suicide. And that was just something that just was not part of the equation over time, and the so-called, you know, again, this sometimes we can get deep, ladies and gentlemen. So prepare yourself. But they call it sometimes the deaths of despair, deaths from suicide, alcohol use, drug overdoses, higher now among blacks than whites, tripling since 2013. The numbers are just continuing to rise, and I'm not even talking about COVID during that time. So we want to dive down into what is really going on. What are some of the things that are making mental health such an issue for our Black men? And I'm one of them.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so glad that I have you on this podcast with me, Vince, because as a Black woman, I can only speak to this topic to a certain extent because my lived experience is not that of a Black man. However, I'm so glad that you're here to actually weigh in on this topic because it's so important to actually look at why this is an issue with Black men right now. And a lot of it has to do with just the conditioning of how Black boys are raised in America. And just as something as simple as I found out that there was a study that was released in 2024. They said that they found a study that indicated that Black boys need 6 times more hugs. Or I'm sorry, boys in general, boys need 6 times more hugs than girls, just as far as their emotional well-being and being raised and growing up and being okay. And when you think about that, if you have, okay, a boy and a girl at home, and you're just thinking about, okay, if I had a boy and a girl at home, would I see myself hugging my boy 6 times more than I was hugging my daughter? No. So that's really important just to kind of look at that just in and even out of context, just to see, we don't really talk about the physical, emotional needs that Black men have because everything is just so, masculine and hang in there, Black man, and you can do it. And that's the antithesis of health and well-being.
Amazing that you said 6 times more hugs. I would say then a Black young boy probably needs 10 times more hugs because I want to take this moment, Makeba, Dr. Jawaza Kunjufu, who recently passed away, and I was sharing with you, this guy changed my life when I was working in cable back in the day. He had authored this book, Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. I had gotten the book, I read it, I reached out, he came over, he blew me away with statistics or things like what you're saying there, and how, systemic racism is real. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what they tell me, whatever they want to tell me. It has been just an issue for Black men since day one of landing in this country of America. And so once we, accept that, we can move on. And so there's reasoning behind the fact that Black men less likely to seek and receive mental health treatment. As you said, one thing is masculinity. We had to prove ourselves out in the field, in the house, in the room, all that kind of stuff. And that's a lot of pressure can be on a brother. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually in a therapeutic space where I was listening to Black men speaking with one another and expressing just they weren't even complaining about it, but they were just expressing, the role of being head of the house, responsible for the entire family. And then they started talking about mental health concerns. And I thought to myself when I heard that, I was like, man, I think about my own mental health stuff and just how heavy it is for me. I can't imagine on top of that. Now I have to be, no matter who I'm with, it's an expectation that I am responsible for the entire family financially. Like that's a cultural expectation on top of all of the mental health stuff that you already have going on that's unresolved. That's huge.
And you mentioned, the masculinity, that internalized views of masculinity. That, oh, I can't seem weak. I can't do this. I can't do that. Encourage us to act tough, withhold your emotions, and that in itself makes a lot of men resistant to seeking some help, therapy. But there are informal ways that men do it, and you know how we do it. We talk about it at the barbershop. We probably talk about it at church, or sometimes family members. But that is not the same. No, nothing against barbershop chatter. The fellas, we get it out and talk, man, my wife this or my brother this, that, the other. But when it comes to therapy, um, let me just say, it's important. You got to tread lightly when you're talking to the brother, because if you start pushing them too much and start talking about those emotions that we may let out in the barbershop, you're not going to come back. You're like, look, she done broke the barrier. I'm the man. Ooh. Now
Right.
you got me up in there crying about, my mama, my daddy, or something that happened. It's tough to break it, but it can be broken. As you said, you heard him. Sometimes it comes out, and that's why Makeba again wanted to put my face out here, my situations and things like that, to let brothers know that it is okay. And I really appreciate you on helping me and holding my hand somewhat in this journey. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you mentioned, the barber shops and even some hair salons for women have become safe spaces for, dialogue about mental health and just life. But you're absolutely right. Like when it comes to therapeutic support and where that, okay, I'm dealing with depression and this is something serious and I, sometimes think about not wanting to be here. Those are deeper conversations that do need therapeutic support. And when you're talking about stuff, Vince, like depression and anxiety with Black men, it manifests itself differently because most Black men don't have a space to admit, yeah, man, I'm depressed. Yeah, man, I'm not doing good. Yep, that's mostly met with, what you mean? Hey, man, you're gonna be all right. Hey, let's go over here and do this. Or what are you talking about? It's usually not met with the level of vulnerability and support that it needs because we don't normalize the conversation and there's stigma and shame in quote unquote giving up or not being strong enough to bear life.
And depression being that significant issue, often underdiagnosed. It's like, here, just, you'll be all right. Like you said, you'll be all right. No, no, that man is actually suffering from a clinical depression situation, trauma. When you look at numbers about crime, about deaths, about healthcare, and all those kinds of things, that means, there are effects, there are consequences, there are results that happen. So more trauma with a Black man, uniquely vulnerable then to mental health challenges due to the complex effects of systemic racism, related trauma, it's over and over and over and over again. While you're trying to be macho, mucho man, it just becomes my Instapot.
Yeah.
Just
What you know about Insta? Oh, I know you and Tracy know all about Instapot. I'm not even going to ask because I know I know how y'all get down in that kitchen. Okay, I'm not even going to ask how you know about Instapot.
it's witchcraft. You just put it in and come out good. But yeah, I mean, it all,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, yeah, and especially with what everything else that's going on. Like, for example, when I taught my two sons how to drive, it was a completely different experience than when my parents taught me how to drive. The focus was on parallel parking and stopping and where's the insurance card. But when I taught my sons how to drive, the emphasis was on how do you stay safe when you're pulled over by the police? Make sure your hands are where the police officer can see them. Make sure you let the officer be aware of the fact that you are reaching for something in your glove compartment. That's a stressful situation as a parent to have to, and you have to have those conversations as a parent when you're parenting Black children, especially Black males, because they are perceived as being mad, hostile or angry even before they're interacted with sometimes.
that's right. You say, I mean, there were so many stories. I was thinking of Trayvon, the brother in Minnesota. I mean, live videos of these interactions with police. And so that's putting more stress on you right there. Then, if you decide, okay, yeah, maybe I need to check it out, there's a bunch of barriers that are in place. And hopefully, we can somehow, through legislation or something, stop this. You got the stigma, you got the mistrust of the medical system. Can you say Tuskegee experiment? Can you say Dianetics and things like this? Can you say lack of access to services? You don't see them in our communities. Office for therapy in our communities, and financial constraints all add up to preventing Black men from seeking mental health care.
Right, exactly. And that also bleeds over into physical health care as well, because Black men, have higher instances of prostate cancer, diabetes, and a lot of times these medical concerns are exacerbated by mental health concerns because the person might be depressed, so they're not taking their medication for such and such because they're not talking about their anxiety. And that's why I'm so excited that we're talking about this today, Vince, because this really starts with having conversations with yourself about, hey, am I okay? What do I need? Where's my support system? If I don't have one, I'm going to create one, because that's the purpose of that therapist. And I say this all the time, that therapist is your village elder that we don't have anymore. When we were in tribes in Africa and we could go to different individuals for wisdom and support, and we had a community. Now we're just trying to deal with stuff in our own heads by ourselves, and it's too much and we can't. And that's why we're talking about this. And that conversation starts with yourself and being honest about what you're going through.
Every time when I hear a new celebrity, I just saw a rapper the other day who he even created a song. I want to say it's YG, this well-known rapper who's singing about he was sexually abused and all these kinds of things in his new song. But what really came out is the fact of, just as you said, talking about it. Once he was able to express it and come from behind the curtain, I mean, he was saying how much better he feels about himself, about the world, and he just wants to shout it out to the world. And guess what? He's actually being lifted up, as opposed to the opposite of what you think, men, that if you open up and become vulnerable, that people are going to push you down. No, they said that they'll lift you up, because you'll find that there is a collective of folks who went through the same thing and just genuinely appreciate you for sharing what it is, and perhaps giving them some solutions as they're dealing with their issues as well.
Yes, I just felt the release from just when you said that. Like I could just feel just the air that was brought into the space of just you saying that, Vince. And thanks so much for your vulnerability and because I know that, and this is always in the back of my mind every time that we start a podcast and we start recording. I always think about your family, especially your brother and your dad, because I know that that's why we're doing this, and that's why you have put together this platform. That's why you have put together this nonprofit. And I really appreciate you talking about your story, sharing this pain with other people so that other people can know that, hey, there's somebody else that not only did he go through this and not only did he talk about it, but he's continuing to talk about it. He has a voice behind this pain, because when you put a voice behind the pain becomes smaller because the voice gets bigger.
That's why they call me Vince the Voice. And those that followed this podcast, or those that are new, but for those that have followed, know that I lost my dad to suicide in uh, my senior year in high school, and then in 2006, my oldest brother as well. And yes, it was devastating, and yes, it took me through all kind of changes and went through, substance abuse, all those things. But that as time went on, I realized, again, that their lives were not in vain, that they were with me and they're still with me today, and that they taught me so much. And so now I celebrate them. I hate that I don't have them here physically with me, but they are the ones who are pushing me now to do the things that I think I was put on this earth to do. And so, black man, white, whoever, but black men in particular, it's nothing wrong with stepping out here and, again, taking that veil off and saying, hey, this is who I am. Does it make me weaker? In fact, it has made me stronger. Their lives were not in vain. And now I got two angels looking out for me.
Absolutely, Vince. And I just want to ask you if you could just, for me and for everybody else, if you could please say your brother's and your father's names.
My dad, Sidney Bailey Jr., and my brother, Theodore Anthony Bailey, who we called him Tony, and he was a smooth operator. I tell you what, man, that's where I get my style and everything from, and looked up to him. And but they, like I say, lived through me. Their lives were not in vain, and I appreciate you giving me that opportunity to say their name, as they say their name. Yes.
Absolutely, because Vince, a lot of people who have loved ones or friends who have passed away by death, by suicide, they themselves have a level of shame about the way that they passed. And I just want to tell you and everybody out there that have experienced the loss of a loved one or friend by suicide, there is no shame in that person not being here anymore by the choice that they made. That person's life should still be upheld and reminisced and celebrated the same way if they passed away from a heart attack or if they passed away from an automobile accident. The way that they passed away does not define who they were as a person. Their legacy is their life. And that's why we're talking about them. And that's why we're talking about Black mental health and Black men.
That's right. That's right. And so, what can be done? What can help us black men as we go through life? Because that's what it is. It's life that we go through. Unfortunately, we do have quite a bit that was put up there to stunt our growth and things like that. But we as a people can come together. First thing we need to do is just increase mental health literacy, like what we're trying to do now. And what do we say it is? It's just talking. If we can talk about it and we can get that elder, use some of that again. I like to say AI is ancestral intelligence how we can get through things. And those therapists, and hats off to you. Thank you so much. We just need more, particularly for black men. When you think about, going to go see some help, only 5%, it tells me 5% of our psychological professionals out there are of, African American descent, and most of them are women. So when we're seeking help out there, of course we want to talk to another brother. Of course we want to talk to somebody that come from the west side, the east side, the south side, just like I did. We got to get more of our folks into this field and addressing these issues in our community. That cultural competency, ain't that what it called? Isn't that what it's called, Coach Makeba?
Yes,
Ain't it?
yes, yes, it is called cultural competency. And it's so important because your therapist needs to understand your cultural background, and also to understand how you navigate and see the world, because they might see it a little bit differently than you. But that is absolutely important. And especially when it comes to Black men's health, because Black men actually, they don't live as long as their white counterparts. And it's because of the mental health issues, the unaddressed physical health issues, the barriers to access to care, lack of insurance, stigma in the family. There might be somebody that actually is ready to talk about their mental health concerns, but it has to do with past trauma, and they aren't in a space where they can talk about the trauma that's happened in their family, because that includes disclosing a lot of, personal information. So they don't know how to navigate that. So this is so important that we're having this conversation right now, because we have to start making steps to make the connections between the person that needs the support and actually getting them connected to that therapeutic support system.
Reduce that stigma. You said it. Reduce that stigma. Anytime you hear a negative stereotype and misconceptions about mental health and masculinity in our community, shut it down. There are plenty of examples of people that we admire who they'll tell you, oh, I got a weekly, bi-weekly appointment to talk through things with my therapist.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with it, folks. Promote early help seeking. Encourage Black men to seek out help early on, emphasizing that doing so is a sign of strength and not weakness. Of course, improve access to services. I'd love to see in every Black community out here at least one office that people can. We accept walk-ins. you know,
Yes.
you may be just coming from the club, man. I got to talk about this. Support peer support programs. Again, we're a communal people, so we want to connect with folks, that look like us, sound like us, and are going through some of the same things as us. Places where we can share our experiences and receive support from others who understand the challenges. Involve Black churches and faith-based organizations. And I know this is tricky here because we've talked about it before. Some people's attitude is, oh, you just need to pray about it. What do you say to that, Coach Makeba?
Well, I mean, we have to
Right.
also understand and be cognizant and respectful of the fact that Black people are not a monolith. We do have agnostic and atheist Black people, and they are part of our family as well. So, and when you're talking about Black people and Black mental health, I mean, we are of African descent. So our roots go back pre Christianity. So there's a lot of depth to who we are. So, but with the talk about, pray, yes, prayer is important as far as, your spiritual beliefs, but to also know that there's also some action, because you're talking about your health and your well-being, and you're also talking about something that might shorten your lifespan. So this is not something that you just want to say, okay, I'm going to pray about it and then I'm not going to think about it anymore. No, when you understand that these mental health concerns can take you off the planet, you've got to understand that you need to do more than just pray, that there are tools that are here in place that I feel like have been given to us, by, maybe whoever, that there are tools that are here in our place. We still have a village here, and we still have guideposts and lighthouses here that we can look to for help and support, so that we know that we're not in this mental health crisis by ourselves, especially Black men.
Especially Black men. And on that note, you hear the term all the time, that systemic racism. I share with you listening to a gentleman who said, you know, white supremacy, when you think about it as in terms of the ocean, and people say, oh yeah, the sharks in the ocean. No, white supremacy is the water. It is the whole system that we're all swimming in right now. And could you imagine what it would be like, or what it is like to, from a child, you know, to when you go to school, you know, trying to get your job, when you do have the job, when you're in the grocery store. I mean, we're always being faced with the fact that you're black. And you know what are we really trying to say? And it has been from the even before this country started, but I mean it has been a tough uh, road to hoe, as they say. Thank God that we do have the strength and are still pushing forward and achieving. But it is something that is very real and has a devastating effect on many people. If you can't handle it, ooh, it's a monster.
Yes, yeah, and just like you said, Vince, it's a lot for black men. It's a lot for black men because black men just we don't recognize that black men need to have spaces to be vulnerable. Black men need flowers. Black men need things around them that aren't just hard and angry. Buy yourself flowers, black man. Like I see black men in the store, you know, buying flowers. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure his wife's gonna enjoy that. Or I'm sure his partner is gonna enjoy that. But man, I would love to see black men just buying flowers and just things that are connected to nature for themselves, and to see black men meditating, to see black men in spaces together healing. I did want to share that there is a space online. I believe it's called Black Men Heal, which is a really great online space where Black men come together in different groups. I believe it is across the country, and they talk, have dialogues, cry, have therapeutic sessions, because I believe the person that spearheads it is a psychiatrist or at least a therapist. So we are going to make sure that we do provide resources in this podcast as well.
That's right. That's right. And so again, with so June again is mental health month. What July is left-handed kids month. August is light skin with freckles month. I mean, it was on and on. But every day really is a day to address mental health in our community, because it just continues to grow and grow and grow. You know, the numbers in the wrong way. I'm happy that there are more resources and that we're talking about it more. And maybe that's why the numbers continue to grow, because finally we're
Right.
measuring what's really going on out here. When it first started out, you you sick, you don't feel, you're depressed. What? You better get your butt back in there and pick that berries or whatever it is. I mean, that we didn't have the what is it
The
mind
language.
to
Yeah.
even suffer from something like that. That was actually the thoughts. There's no way that you could be have a mental health issue. You just lazy or
Right.
something like that's
Yeah.
not what it is.
And then that mindset was passed down to families, you know, where, hey, mom, dad, I'm depressed. What you mean you're depressed? I'm going to give you something to be depressed about. You got a roof over your head and some food. So, yeah, so we got to be really mindful of just the language and that the support that we're giving Black men specifically.
Once you do get the information, black men, then we want to pass it on to our young people, to our children, to our families. As you know, mine are adults now, and you think back, you know, would this happen or that happen, and how you could have did, or if you did it right, you know, that you did a great service in a situation that they were going through. Because as you say, they are definitely watching us in all of these scenarios. Even if they act like they don't like you, or they act like they're not listening, yes, they are. They're listening and watching you, black man.
Yes, yeah, they are. And that's why it's so important to get support for yourself, because that's the biggest teacher is your behavior, and your kids and your family, friends. They see what you do, and then that's the example for themselves.
All right. So this entire month, week, year, decades, what we're gonna do, black man, when we see each other, I know we like to do this. What's up? We're gonna add a little smile to it this time. Just, hey, well, how you doing, man? You know, something as simple as that can make someone's day. You never, ever know what somebody is going through if you're not talking to them. And so just your smile sometimes can change someone's trajectory. And who knows, they end up becoming Barack Obama. You know, you just never know. And how powerful it is when we connect and really at least wish for each other the best, you know?
Yes, absolutely, because we are a community, and that's how we're going to get through this, is by getting through it together.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, Makeba. You helped me get through it just right now. And we thank you all so much for listening. We encourage you, reach out to us. Check us out, subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We look to be out in the community more, so be looking for that, and we can have these conversations face to face. I want to see you, Black man, so we'll get together. And thank you again from everyone at Black Mental Matters. See you next time.